So, the first video, it's on the role of the church and of committees. If you've listened to many of my sermons, you've often heard me compare to the church to a few different things. The first being a sports team, how we are called to gain yardage, to work hard, to score points, to work together and play by the rules. These are things that Christians are called to do as well. This is not an individual sport, it is a team sport. Also, I've compared this to being in an army because it requires a lot of discipline and because there are enemies that will try and get in the way, and so it requires those who are not faint of heart. Also, more relevant perhaps than fighting is the mission field, and so often it's important to think of the church as a mission outpost in the midst of a hostile world. Oftentimes, it doesn't feel very easy to advance the cause of God, and yet here we are living amidst the world. And even if the world around us doesn't want us to get work done, that's what we're here to do. And so, like a mission outpost, like a team, like an army, that's what the church is here to do. Now, those three organizations that I've talked about, they're always aimed at gaining ground, always aimed at moving forward. And so you won't be surprised that I, as the pastor, feel it is my job to always be pushing the church forward. John Wesley was of the opinion that if you weren't growing in faith, you were backsliding. And churches often find that if they aren't growing, if they aren't moving, if they aren't working, then they're rotting. Or I guess the common phrase is, you rest, you rut. You rest, you rot. So, let's not rot, let's work together. Now, so the church needs to work, right? But the church doesn't naturally know how to work. It doesn't just fall into place magically. It takes work to know how to work. And you have to have the structures in order to make work happen. And so that's why committees. A lot of people don't like committees because committees can get bogged down, because committees are full of flawed people, and because they're often so influenced by the business world, which doesn't feel spiritual at all. And so a lot of people often say, why can't the church just do work in a way that feels like God? And of course, we should always aim at the work being pleasant and pleasing and feeling holy all along the way. And I do believe committee work can be like that, but I think it doesn't start like that, and it doesn't come naturally. But that's, of course, what we all want. Now, we shouldn't settle for crummy committees, because when you serve on a crummy committee, it saps energy out of people, not just out of the chair, not just out of the elected people, but out of everyone who's there. So we want to make sure that our committees do, as best as they can, reflect the mission and the vigor and the spirit of the church. So if you don't know the mission of your church, the mission statement is posted around all three churches. Ask somebody. Some people know it by memory. If you don't know the mission of the United Methodist Church, it's to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. That's our mission, and that is really the mission of all churches. So I want to encourage you to look at your committee not as some item of just conducting business. Even the committees like trustees or finance that are concerned with things that we would often consider just worldly, money, property. These are committees that are really quite holy in what their task is to do. And so, whether it be even nominations, evangelism, worship, memorials, all of these things are tasked with administering parts of God's holy church. And even if it's in a small context, even if it's just you and two other people in a room, it's still something very holy that you're doing, and it's a part of the church. So I hope you can take that seriously and know that what you're doing really matters. Matters not just to me, the pastor, but it matters to the whole church. The better job you do, the better job your committee does, the more glory we're giving to God. And so, like the local church, we're called to move forward. And so I hope that you are able to move forward and feel the advance that comes when we work with Christ this year.